Let's declare a pandemic amnesty. We need to forgive one another for what we did and said when we were in the dark about COVID by Emily Oster. In April of 2020, with nothing else to do, my family took an enormous number of hikes. We all wore cloth masks that I had made myself. We had a family hand signal, which the person in the front would use if someone was approaching on the trail and we needed to put on our masks. Once, when another child got too close to my then 4-year-old son on a bridge, he yelled at her, "Social distancing!" These precautions were totally misguided. Yes. Yes, that was, but who fucking made the kids take those precautions? Who did that? It was you. It was you. And a whole shitload of us figured it out. But you couldn't. Why not? Why not? These precautions were totally misguided in April 2020. No one got the coronavirus from passing someone else hiking. No, and ever. Not in April 2020. No one ever did. And we all knew. We all knew immediately that that would never happen, that didn't happen. The idea that it would happen was ludicrous. Oh, you passed someone hiking. Oh, well, clearly, if you pass someone hiking, well, then, if that happened, then you're going to die from corona. Yeah, okay. Outdoor transmission was vanishingly rare. Not vanishingly rare. It just literally never fucking happened. It never happened. I want to see. Do you know you would have to be fucking spitting in mouths personally to get someone to have corona passing them outside? You'd have to grab them, hold up, and then fucking bitch. You'd have to fucking literally do that. You're just walking by someone. It was never, ever going to happen. Our cloth masks made out of old bandanas wouldn't have done anything anyway. But the thing is, we didn't know. We all did. I've been reflecting on this lack of knowledge thanks to a class I'm co-teaching at Brown University. Well, maybe you should be taken to Browntown instead. We've spent several lectures reliving the first year of the pandemic, discussing the many important choices we had to make under conditions of tremendous uncertainty. You know what? No, hold on. Who is this? Emily fucking Oster. If you guys have not figured out this thing yet, I judge women only by their appearances and nothing else. Nothing else. I do not judge women in any capacity other than by their appearance. Because frankly, that's the mature thing to do. And there you go. Look, I'm not saying anything about her advice or whatever. You guys can judge based on her appearance too. Because that's what we do. That's what we fucking do. As a gay, I can say that I judge people based on their appearances harshly in both directions. All right. Let's get back to where we were. She is teaching at Brown University. We've spent several lectures reliving the first year of the pandemic, discussing the many important choices we had to make under conditions of tremendous uncertainty. Some of these choices turned out better than others. To take an example close to my own work, there is an emerging, if not universal, consensus that schools in the U.S. were closed for too long. Well, yes. A day was too long, you dummies. I hate public school, but what you did to kids was terrible. What you did to kids is fucking awful. Like you got them addicted to this fucking schooling thing that they had to do, and then you cut them off from it. That's cannot. The health risks of in-school spread were relatively low, whereas the cost of students' well-being and educational progress were high. The latest figures on learning loss are alarming. But in spring and summer 2020, we only had glimmers of information. Reasonable people who cared about children and teachers, advocated on both sides of the reopening debate. They were not. The health risks of in-school spread were relatively low. Costs are alarming, blah, 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 blah. Reasonable people who cared about children and teachers, advocated on both sides of reopening the debate. You didn't call them reasonable then. Stop pretending. Another example, when the vaccines came out, we lacked definitive data on the relative efficacies of Johnson & Johnson shot versus the mRNA options from Pfizer and Moderna. Keep your mRNA out my fucking mouth. Keep it the fuck out. Keep it the fuck out. Stay away from me. The mRNA vaccines have won out. Gee, I wonder why. But at the time, many people in public health were either neutral or expressed a Johnson & Johnson preference. This misstep wasn't nefarious. It was a result of uncertainty. To be fair, I don't want either of them. Fuck off. My man Ty got vaccinated. He mentioned on the stream a couple times because he had to make the business decision, he said, which I believe is not a slam on Ty. His clientele is older, typically speaking, and we're concerned about COVID, so they wanted to know that he's vaccinated. So he got vaccinated. Ty got COVID 3 fucking times. I got COVID once. Never again. I didn't go. I didn't douse my hands in hand sanitizer. I didn't wipe off the fucking grocery carts or whatever people doing. Gay, like sitting there doing all that shit. I didn't do any of that. Walked around, no mask, fuck everything. How did I not get COVID? Oh, because you don't just get COVID. It doesn't just happen. It's not like just floating around in the air. You up COVID. No, that's exceedingly rare, even indoors. You have to have someone breathing on your fucking face. I got COVID because I was babysitting one of my nephews who had COVID. His kid's like 2, and I had to pick him up, put him in his fucking like crib and stuff like that. We didn't know he had COVID when I was babysitting him. So he transmitted to me. That's how my family got COVID. We found out later. That's where our COVID contact was. That was the only one. Well, fuck. What do? You got a kid. No one knows they have COVID. Suddenly everybody's got COVID. There you go. Obviously, some people intended to mislead and made wildly irresponsible claims. Remember when the public health community had to spend a lot of time and resource urging Americans not to inject themselves with bleach? They didn't have to do that. Did anybody actually think that injecting themselves with bleach was going to cure your COVID? Did anybody actually? No. This is so fucking long. Oh, I fucking hate these people. No one had to do that. You dummy. Woman from Me to You. Emily was her name, Oster. That wasn't people having to cure misstatement. That was opportunistic grifting against a political opponent. It's based on a lie, for one thing. For two, no one fucking believed it. No one fucking believed any of that. That was bad. Misinformation was and remains a huge problem. It is not. Misinformation is not a huge problem. Misinformation is not and has never been a huge problem. Misinformation is free fucking speech, baby. That's what it is. That's what it's always been. Misinformation is the freedom to be wrong because the wrong are often right. Not occasionally right. They're often right. Because who determines right from wrong? Somebody with power. Someone with privilege. We hear this all the time in race discussions, constantly in gender discussions. You know where we never hear it? Public policy discussions. Oh, well, no one else could possibly be right while being wrong against a power structure. Only whites and only men. Fuck you. Fuck this shit. I'm so fucking tired of it. Every time we hear this shit, well, misinformation. The disapproved opinion is wrong and it's very dangerous. Yeah, the disapproved opinion is wrong and very dangerous all the time in these other places. But we get to borrow those narratives. This motherfucking bitch that we read earlier said Daryl Brooks was convicted over racism. That is misinformation or disinformation with the intent to raise racial animus in the community where racial animus caused a fucking a catastrophe. I didn't know what else to say. But that's what happened. Daryl Brooks's racial animus and racial prejudices against whites caused him to drive over a bunch of white people. I kept it out of the fucking discussion on the court case because it wasn't relevant to the legal issues in the courtroom. But let's not pretend that that wasn't what happened. It's all over his fucking Facebook page. It's all over his social media posts. It's rife in the aftermarket minority commentary. And I don't mean minority based on race. I mean minority based on opinion. The few people swinging from his fucking weird nutsack, still trying to defend his actions as just a poor, dumb black man, are insane. But it's real. And that bitch is trying to raise racial animus in a place where racial tensions are already fucking high. So high, in fact. Racial tensions in that area of Wisconsin are so high that a white Mexican mix shooting a white Jew, a white, and a white is somehow racial violence. That's how fucked up our racial animus is in eastern Wisconsin. And this bitch is stirring the fucking pot on that. That's what she was referring to, by the way. The black not receiving justice or whatever. That's Kyle Rittenhouse. No black people involved. In fact, actually, no, that's a lie. There was one black guy involved. He assaulted Kyle Rittenhouse by kicking him in the face. Kyle shot and missed. I guess because it was night. Maybe you couldn't see him. I don't know. But that's the misinformation and disinformation. And here, let me wrap this up. That's not dangerous either. She has the same right to be wrong that we all have. Because when right and wrong become subjective because they're opinions or policy or whatever, of course you have the right to be wrong. Because given a little time, you may be correct. Most errors were made by people who were working in earnest for the good of society. I guess you don't understand the difference in definition of misinformation and disinformation. But misinformation is unwittingly spreading wrong information. Disinformation is doing it on purpose. Given the amount of uncertainty, almost every position was taken on every topic. And on every topic, someone was eventually proved right. And someone else was proved wrong. I want to go on record. I've never been proved wrong about a single COVID thing, ever. Fucking try me. Because my stance has always been principled on freedom, forever. That's the only stance that I've ever thought was acceptable. I don't care if COVID was Ebola that spread in 3 minutes. Do not lock people down. Don't do it. Freedom, baby. If I want to go out and risk Ebola, I get to risk it. The government never should ever keep me inside. The government never should ever force me to wear a mask or anything else. Fuck you. It's a sign from, or the line from Sueco. Fuck you. Maybe I don't want to be saved. Exactly. Fuck you. In some instances, the right people were right for the wrong reasons. In other instances, they had a prescient understanding of the available information. No, in many instances, it was just a principled resistance to government and authority, because principle resistances to government and authority are fucking critical. The people who got it right, for whatever reason, may want to gloat. The people who got it wrong, for whatever reason, may feel defensive and retrench into a position that doesn't accord with the facts. All of this gloating and defensiveness comes to gobble up a lot of social energy. No. The people who got it right, namely people who had a principled stance against government interference, no, they should gloat. You know why? Because that was always the right decision. That was always correct. To resist tyranny is to always be correct. And you should gloat because until these people get that resistance to tyranny beat into their fucking skulls with a Pelosi pummeling hammer, they'll go right back to this every single time. Every fucking time. Always going to go back. These people who are like, well, compliance was good this time. They'll be compliance is good next time. All of this gloating and defensiveness continues to gobble up a lot of social energy and to drive the culture wars, especially on the internet. These discussions are heated, unpleasant, and ultimately unproductive. Wrong, wrong, wrong. In the face of so much uncertainty, getting something right had a hefty element of luck. No, just simple, basic fucking principle. That's all it actually took. And similarly, getting something wrong wasn't a moral failing. No, it was. It was a moral failing. It was a moral failing, but it's on the wrong morals that you're thinking. Government, authority is not ever acting in your best interest. When the government gets it right on your behalf, it is incidental and accidental. Government and authority always works to expand its own authority and power. Period, period, period. Always, always, always. It is never not true. This is why I'm against campaign finance laws. Oh, we don't want money in our elections because blah, 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 blah. Fuck you. Shut the fuck up. Stop it, dummy. You're giving in. Who passed campaign finance laws? Oh, McCain-Feingold, right? You trust John McCain to make elections more fair by restricting money in elections? Why would John McCain, the elected incumbent running for office, support something to make his unelection more fair? Notice after McCain-Feingold, where did he go? He stayed in office until he got into the fucking ground. These fucking people do not vote themselves out. They can't. They can't. Okay. Treating pandemic choices as a scorecard on which some people racked up more points than others is preventing us from moving forward. There is no moving forward. To quote Ayn Rand, there is no compromise with poison. And what the pro-vax, pro-lockdown community sold was poison. All right, here we go. We have to put these fights aside and declare a pandemic amnesty. We can leave out the willful. This is always the side of the loser. This is always the side of the fucking loser. It's always the fucking loser who asks for your forgiveness, who asks for you to fucking stop. Please just stop. We can leave out the willful purveyors of actual misinformation. How can you? While forgiving the hard calls that people had no choice but to make with imperfect knowledge. Notice what she's done here. Well, everybody who said all the nice things, well, they can fucking go. They're fine. They're fine. Los Angeles County closed its beaches in summer of 2020. Ex post facto, this makes no more sense than my family's mass hiking trips. Not ex post facto. During fucking facto. Pre-facto. Anybody knew that closing a beach was gay and dumb. But we need to learn from our mistakes and let them go. You won't. With amnesty, you fucking dummies will never, ever learn. You'll never learn. We know you won't learn. Because you didn't learn the last time. You won't learn this time, and you won't learn the next time. We need to forgive the attacks too. Oh, yeah. Because I thought schools should reopen and argue that kids as a group were not at high risk. I was called a teacher killer and a genocidaire. It wasn't pleasant, but feelings were high. This is the only right thing you did, but no, don't forgive the attacks. Don't forgive the attacks. And I certainly don't need to dissect and rehash that time for the rest of my days. Never do. You don't have to rehash anything. You were right. You were right. But the real answer was not that schools should reopen. The real answer was schools should have never fucking closed. And everybody knew this. Moving on is crucial now because the pandemic created many problems that we still need to solve. Student test scores have shown historic declines, more so in math than in reading, and more so for students who were disadvantaged at the start. Again, if you think, like, if you're a believer in racial equality or whatever, or equity, the pandemic hit minorities really fucking hard. You know why? Because you know who actually really fucking hates blacks? Do you know who really hates black people? It's never changed. They want to convince you that it's changed. They want to rewrite history. They want to tell you that it's changed. The Democrat Party hates Negroes. They hate them. They fucking hate them. They hate everything about them. They don't want their communities to grow. They don't want their people to grow. They want to destroy black families. They did. They fucking ruined them. They ruined them. And then you know how they tried to fix it? You can just marry white people. It's fine, by the way. I don't care who marries who. But that was their solution. You think that helped black communities? Think Brown versus Board helped black communities? Oh, put them in the white schools. You know what happened to the black schools? By the way, this isn't talked about. When Brown v. Board passed, the black families who fought in Brown versus Board, they didn't want their kids in the white schools. They didn't actually want that. They wanted their kids to have the opportunity to go to the white schools. They wanted to keep them in black schools. But if like a family moved to a white neighborhood for whatever reason, they wanted them to be able to send their kid to a white school. That's all they asked for. Please give us the opportunity. And then forced integration occurred. And the black schools shut down. And the black teachers were universally fired. And suddenly, you had white teachers, 1965, trying to teach black students how their communities worked. They couldn't identify with these kids. And again, this is not 2022 white and black teachers. These are not teachers that have the same lived experience. This is 1965. This is a couple years ago when my family was protesting this, the police turned a fire hose on them. How do you identify with that, white lady? Well, my husband's a fireman. The black community got fucked by the Civil Rights Act in the short term. The black community got fucked by Brown versus Board in the short term. And they never asked for it. But Democrats don't like being shown that they're wrong. Remember, the Jim Crow is a Democrat policy. I don't know how the fuck to explain this. The Democrats implemented Jim Crow. Jim Crow was law. It's not like all the sandwich shops are like, oh, well, we just don't like those dark people. No. The government told them they didn't have to. The government told them not to. The government said, make a separate counter around back for the darks. Do that. They've always done that. All of that racial animus came from the Democrats. It still exists to this day. And the minority kids bore the brunt of their school policies because for years and years and years, the government has put black kids at the mercy of government more than any other demographic group because they paid off Black single moms. They paid them a fortune, billions of taxpayer dollars diverted to Black single moms to keep Black men away. Drex hates German Shepherds. This is why. To keep Black men away from Black kids. Because there used to be a category of Black men who were actual good fathers. And that was really scary to Democrats. And so they put those guys in jail and they separated them out generationally. They bred them out of existence by paying Black women to keep men away. They did it. It's insane how fucking effective it was. It's crazy. It's crazy to me. But they did it. They've never apologized for it. In fact, they've defended it every step of the way. But so should we be surprised at all where more so for students who were disadvantaged at the start that this disproportionately affected them? Of course not. We should never be surprised by that. We need to collect data, experiment, and invest. Is high dosage tutoring more or less cost effective than in extended school years? Why have some states recovered faster than others? We should focus on questions like these because answering them is how we will help our children recover. Many people have neglected their health care over the past several years. Notably, routine vaccination rates for children for measles, pertussis, etc. are way down. Oh, you think sowing distrust amongst the government by pushing a bunch of bullshit onto people might cause them to distrust what exists and is fine? Huh. Rather than debating the role that messaging about COVID vaccines had in this decline. Wait, why? 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 Why not? Why not talk about this? We need to put all our energy into bringing these rates back up. Why would anybody listen to you fucking people ever again? You lied about everything. You lied about all of it. We need to put all our energy. Yeah. Pediatricians and public health officials will need to work together on community outreach, and politicians will need to consider school mandates. Wait, what? What are school mandates? What the fuck do you mean? What do you fucking mean by this? The standard saying is that those who forget history are doomed to repeat it, but dwelling on the mistakes of history can lead to a repetitive doom loop as well. Let's acknowledge that we made complicated choices in the face of deep uncertainty, and then try to work together to build back and move forward. No, I will not move forward in your direction. I will not. I can't take this shit.